Good morning, good evening. Let's do that over. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the Final Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Turbo the CEO, and I come to you tonight with episode number 51. Episode number 51. Tonight's title: A Pivotal Moment in the Me Too Era. Listen, I didn't want to put that out there because I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. But we're going to have a great show tonight. Man, I hope everyone had a great week. We just started our um, most momentous second season. This is episode number 7 of the second season. This is been fun. It's been really, really fun. We just finished episode 50, and man, I have to think back and be like, wow. I remember starting this thing and I had no clue, no direction. All I saw was what other people were doing, and I used the vigor from other social media folks. It wasn't necessarily their message or what they represented, but I figured if they can do it, I can do it. And here we are with episode number 51. But before we get into it, what's going on, smarts? To my smarts out there, man, what is going on? I hope everyone is doing really well in spite of. Listen, give God the glory and all will be well. We don't do fear over here. No fear. So, no fear. But here we are, man. Episode 51. Shout out to my special guest of last week, Sidney Evans. If you haven't had a chance to check out his material, check out his book, check out his message, very positive, brother, go check him out. And you can see his information on his website at www.sydneyevansglobal.com. Now, before we get started, I always come to you guys, my smarts, and those who are just now joining us, with a message that I like to call my brass tacks. My brass tacks tonight comes from the Chinese military general strategist, military expert, Sun Tzu, and his quote, which coincides with a lot of different things. And I want you to embrace yourself and take notes, man. If you can just jot down a few notes, or if you haven't read the book Art of War, go read Art of War. It's a short read, but man, it's full of a lot of information. A lot of military um around a lot of military units around the world still use some of these strategies. So tonight's brass tacks from Sun Tzu. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Subdue the enemy without fighting. Sounds like a chess game, mental game. Sydney and I were just talking about uh, using chess and playing chess as it relates to this game of life. And for those who don't understand what I just said, it emphasizes the idea of achieving victory through strategy and maneuvering rather than direct confrontation, highlighting the importance of planning and foresight in leadership. From Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Now, let's get to it. These banners are annoying because they take away my face, so I'm gonna take those away. I don't want those there. Nope. Y'all see it? You see it now? Now you don't. It's out of here. It's gone. Boom. It's out of here. Tonight's episode. We tonight's episode comes from a time where a lot of us America was in a different political space. And I remember the first time hearing of this scandal, and it not everyone in America chuckled about it. A lot of people did. A lot of people thought it was disgraceful, but the actions of the individuals, and it hurt a lot of people, and it hurt America to a sense, but at the same time, we all understood that we're all human and none of us are perfect. We're actually imperfect. We're imperfect beings trying to live a perfect world. And that's the problem. We need to recognize just how much society is so fractured. We keep denying that. We keep denying that society as a whole isn't fractured. This is fractured, and we're trying to make it look perfect, and it's not perfect. So, with that, tonight's episode, let's get with it. The names I won't mention because it might evoke immediate reactions. So we're gonna keep the names out of this. But the goal isn't to rehash the details of that political event, but to analyze the significance within the context of what's in the title, the Me Too movement. Y'all remember the Me Too movement and the effects of it and the societal shifts and understanding that it gave us when it came to power dynamics and sexual harassment. Y'all remember that, plain as day. I know you do because I remember it. And the reason why I thought of tonight's show was because one of the said individuals of this topic is back in the news. Believe it or not, they're back in the news, rehashing the incident, and is talking about having a podcast in reference to that entire ordeal. Not that we need that, but hey, however you decide to get your coins is however you decide to get your coins. So I'm gonna leave that at that. But they're back in the news. So I saw an article earlier this week. I don't remember where I saw it at, but it was an online article, and they were talking about the individual is back. They want to rehash and talk about everything that went on on a podcast. So I'm like, wow, okay. As if America didn't need more. But hey, let the saga continues. Let the saga continue. I'm sorry. We're going to start with a brief overview of the scandal. And I know some of you might know what scandal I'm talking about. But if you don't, continue to listen. For those, like I just said, who are unfamiliar, remember the sensationalized headlines. What were the key events? Do you remember the key events? It's all over the news. Something took place in a political office, two parties. They were having some fun. There was a dress involved. There were stains involved. It was a mess. uh, it was a mess, man. It was tearing apart a prominent political family, and I'm not going to go any further than that. Hopefully, you guys can figure that out. I know you're my smarts. I know you can figure it out. So I know you can figure it out. It's too easy. Too easy. Do you remember the initial public response? Do you remember how the media portrayed the young lady who was involved? Do you remember any of those things? I remember, if I recollect correctly, the media had turned that young lady into enemy number one. There was a lot of negative conversations in reference to that individual. There was victim blaming portrayal. It was a lot going on. And it was on 24/7, nonstop. I think that was a time where we had like a media news explosion. Um, and it was one of the major scandals outside of what happened to I'm not going to say uh, I'm going to say it was just as prominent as Nixon's scandal, but we had more. We have more out. We have in that time we've had more outlets. So as the outlets continue to grow, the media is able to get out and across to more masses. So you can't really compare what happened from the Watergate scandal to Vietnam to Iran Contra affair to this particular scandal that I'm referring to. Because, like I just said, as the resources continue to grow, it means more resources and sources of those resources are in multiple homes around the world. So it was a pretty big deal. Pretty big deal. Do you remember some of the political ramifications of this scandal? I do. I'm not going to get into it, but a lot of talks were about impeachment. There were a lot of legal arguments, political fallout, and a lot of name dropping. It was a lot of name dropping because not only did these two individuals, where one was a high profile political individual, they were complicit in their act, but those around them that knew what was taking place also was complicit. So just remember, I'm not dropping no names. I'm not dropping names, man. I'm not, you know, I don't snitch. Nope. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm having too much fun. Um, do you remember some of the political societal impacts of the scandal? I'm telling you, it was a lot going on across the board. It changed conversations and power structure here in America. Conversations were increased about sex, about power, and that political position. And you know, the shifts in the discourse, the political silence from so many people, while this one individual uh, had a target on their back for the most part. And you know, there were a lot of talks of to shift the blame to sexual harassment. Sexual harassment. You know, none of that stuff stuck, but it traveled across the media. Um, how did you, it was an intern. And that intern is still talking about that incident. It's their claim to fame. Like I just said, they're talking about rehashing those events and bringing them back up and talking about it on their podcast. Does America need that again? I guess I guess every every 20 years it has to be rehashed so the new genre would get it and understand it and hear about it. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Um, it's history. I don't know if it's taught in history in schools, but it definitely was history. Uh, what do we know about the young lady, the intern that was involved? What was her career? How was her career affected by it? I know there were books made, a lot of conversations on talk shows at the time, and soon their podcast. Um, how would you? How would that situation have played out with today's cyber technology? You know, what type of online harassment would they have received? Do they even receive? They might receive some online harassment. You never know. I can't even discount that. You just never know. Cyberbullying at the time was not a thing, but I'm quite sure we about to see the effects of uh, cyberbullying and online harassment when they do drop this podcast. Because one thing I know for sure is that the trolls don't play. They're mean. I mean, for real. I don't know if they thought this all the way through. Maybe they should have turned to activism and advocacy. Sorry about that. My sinus is bothering me. Um, if they should have turned in that direction, use that energy for something else versus uh, rehashing those events and bringing it back forward to the public. Um, what do you think about key insights that this individual might have shared to the public? I mean, it was graphic. The details were graphic. Everything from conversations about stains and dresses and the cover up. Oh man, we had to get taken down that rabbit hole detail by detail, inch by inch, and it felt like America was dragged into that. And everybody was glued to their television. Everybody was glued to their television sets because we wanted to hear more. We wanted to hear that this story couldn't have been true, but it was very true. Even though the individual who was high ranking doubled down on those accusations. It was a time to be alive in this great country, and we lived through it. There are a lot of public statements out there, writings. Like I said, there were some books. I know the intern was, man, I can't tell you how many talk shows they were on. They were on a plenty of talk shows discussing this thing. And how did you feel, Smarts? How did you feel when you witnessed this? Or how did you feel when we were going through this time of scandal here in America? Did you have any empathy? Did you have any understanding? were you on the intern side, or were you on the side of the political individual? What perspective contributed to whose side you were on? Which brings us to the Me Too movement. There are various connections between the interns' experiences and the broader scope of the Me Too movement. You can't deny the parallels and the evolution of the public discourse. You can't deny it. It's all there. What lessons have we learned from it? What lessons have we learned from it? Have we learned anything from at all? We see now, we see now the dangers of victim blaming. We see now the need of accountability when it comes to addressing sexual harassment. We see now the dangers of sexual abuse without accountability. We see all of those things, and there are a lot of these things are playing out or have played out right in front of us. So many different scandals, so many different individuals who are standing before trial right now, high profile. A lot has happened since that one individual himself. And like I said, I'm not using any names tonight, so you guys, you know who I'm talking about. Y'all my smarts. I know you know who I'm talking about. But you can honestly say that the Me Too movement changed the landscape of sexual harassment and assault. It's both. It's been successful, but it hasn't been without limitations. I mean, it is what it is, you know. How does it follow under such concerns like due process and the potential for false accusations? How does one clear their name from false accusations? It's like, man, once that you're hit with that, true or not true, the public eye are the judge. And sometimes they judge very harshly. And man, you don't want to walk around with that hanging around hanging off your back, even if you cleared it, even when um, they were false statements. The individual still suffers, still suffers. We have such a problem in this country when it comes to accountability. And it's not just with the topic that I'm speaking from, it's across the board, man. So many people, even in their personal relationships, people just won't accept the fact and admit when they're wrong, or make or take accountability for something they've done. I don't understand that. If you're wrong, say you're wrong. Own up to it. There's consequences in everything. You're going to receive those consequences somehow, some way, someday. They're coming. As they say in DC, Petty Larson will get you. He will get you. Petty Larson. That's a saying that we grew up saying in DC. How does that scandal fit into the broader context of the Me Too movement? Um, so far, we've had an evolution of societal attitudes and an ongoing struggle at the same time, which which limits us as a people. And I'm not just talking about a race, I'm talking about us as a people as a whole. We're limited. There's so many different things that we're limited by. And um, if accountability was held higher to a higher charge, these type of issues wouldn't plague us so much. And that's just my opinion, man. That's just that's just that's just my opinion. You know, some of the key challenges in addressing sexual harassment and the assault. Look, we in the workplace, man. I've seen some great people get taken down because of sexual harassment or sexual assault, especially in the Fed. And if you don't know the rules, go. It's probably too late to go figure it out at this point because everything those guys are doing with the federal government, man, it's too late. But if everything calms down and balances out, it goes with my new slogan: stay equal, stay balanced, stay smart. When everything balances out and everyone is back into the workplace and there's some normalcy, my recommendation, if you're not up on the sexual harassment codes and the sexual assault codes of the workplace, go read up on it because you'll be surprised. You will be surprised what is considered sexual harassment and sexual assault in the workplace. Trust me, you'll be surprised. Man. Don't even look. Don't look too long. Like don't do that, brother. Don't do that, brother or sister. Don't do that. You go get yourself in some trouble. And I got a feeling a lot of these rules, when things are normalized, will be changed drastically. I just have a feeling. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, because I just have a feeling about what is about to be trending in this information space. I just got a feeling. So I wanted to jump the gun and beat it before it gets out there and um, be a lead in this conversation. So um, that's the main reason. Plus, like I said before, I saw the individual in an article speaking of the incident and wanting to bring it forward on a podcast. So here we are, right? When it comes to individuals and organizations, what are they doing what is your organization doing? What are you doing outside of reading and having some sort of understanding? Uh, how are you promoting a culture of respect? And I know that's kind of hard to ask, especially with so much going on. But everyone's back in the office, so these rules and these things do apply. Um, Education is key. Education is always key. Education, 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 education. Understand ethics, understand the policies, understanding accountability. All of those things are very key to uh, getting a foothold on sexual harassment and trying to promote a culture of respect. There's something that we as a people need to practice. And I was told personally, I'm really big on emotional intelligence, really big on emotional intelligence. And I was told this week that one of the key criterias of emotional intelligence is empathy. Empathy. And sometimes I lack empathy. I do. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I can be quite robotic in my logic and my thought processes. Um, and it's something I've been working on. I've been working on it, and man, we're still growing. I'm about to. I'm about to hit a big birthday in the next couple of weeks, and we're still growing. I was talking to shout out to my mom, man. I was talking to my mom the other day, and she was like, "Yeah, baby, I'm still growing. I'm still learning." And I'm like, "Damn, man, the learning and the growing, it just doesn't quit. It doesn't stop." So, shout out to her, man. Love her to death. She's a key component and my mental and my mental being in a healthy space. So shout out to her. And back to me working on empathy. But I think as a whole, man, we as a people aren't that empathetic. We just aren't. Um, we don't have or we're not fostering empathetic and nuanced conversations about a lot of things, to include sexual misconduct. It's one of those conversations that are it's a dark conversation. It's a taboo conversation. It's one of those things that we just don't want to talk about. But that's why the final boss is here. That's why I'm here as the final boss to talk about those difficult conversations. And this is one of them: sexual harassment, sexual abuse, sexual misconduct. We have to be more empathetic, man. We have to have that empathy to our fellow human being, listening to survivors, listening to people who have gone through those ordeals, avoiding victim blaming. And we have to continue to promote a culture of respect and understanding, even when, even when a lot of our leaders are not promoting a culture of respect and understanding. And look, I'm not targeting anyone. When I say leader, I'm talking about anyone who's above me. That's what I'm talking about. Anyone who's above me. Like this could be anybody. No names. So we we have to stop doing the victim blaming, and we have to come together and promote a culture of respect and understanding no matter what. We just have to do it. We have to get better at being empathetic and and being there for those who have suffered, and seeing and understanding different levels of trauma. We all have trauma. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what age you are. I don't care what your background is. I don't care if you're rich or you're poor. We all have traumas. We all have traumas. It's time for us to come forward and start dealing with those traumas. That trauma can be the final boss. The final boss in you. The final boss in you. Dealing with your traumas. Those traumas are preventing you from doing certain things, whether you like it or not. It is what it is. It is what it is. Seek help. Help is out there. Talk to someone. I know that, I know this for a fact, man. Everything that's going on right now, people are stressed out. People are stressed out. People are crashing out. Like this is the ultimate crash out. It's like Eon. I'm just I ain't that's yeah, I'm gonna say that. Eon. Not that, but yeah. So it's like they're spreading the crash out. Like we're gonna go upload the crash out here. We're gonna upload the crash out here. And people are crashing out, man. People are crashing out. And the media, the media isn't helping. The media isn't helping. They are showcasing and attacking and using that trauma and using the crash out and using people's dilemmas, the things that they're going through, their firings, the the um, the high level of people who are being let go. The media is using that to sensationalize these stories to generate a certain level of emotion and shaping public perception. And they do that with what's going on, and they do that with stories of sexual misconduct. So it all ties in. It all ties in. The media has a responsibility in reporting the issues accurately and ethically, but it's about the dollar. It's about the dollar, man. What's going to generate, like a lot of these different topics, scandals, movements, Me Too, BLM, all these other movements that are going on. There's a huge movement going on right now in this country, and it's sad that this end the year of 2025, people are putting up signs of for this color only. That's what type of time. That's where we at. It's sad. That's sad. Like everything we fought for, the independence, the freedom, the ability to vote for your leaders, to have a voice, and there's movements growing that are anti. Yeah, let me just leave it at that, man. Anti that. I don't want to get too hung up into that conversation. It pisses me off. But with that particular, back to that scandal, it was a definitely a painful chapter in American history. It served as a crucial reminder of the importance of what I was just talking about: empathy, accountability, and the ongoing struggle of equity and equality and justice. Stay equal, stay balanced, stay smart. Stay equal, stay balanced, stay smart. That's my new slogan. Y'all, my smarts. I want y'all to write that down. Hashtag stay equal, stay balanced, stay smart. I appreciate everyone. Honestly, I do, for always the support, tuning in, coming on board, spending this hour with me. Um, I know last week's show was, well, not last week. The special guest show was a little short, but we were able to hit those points, and man, we knocked those points out. And next thing you know, you looked up, you blinked your eyes twice, show was over. But man, it was a great show, and I want to keep that same momentum. And the reason why I chose tonight's topic, man, because I feel like this is going to be a trending topic, and people are going to come back to it and be like, you know what, man, uh, Final Boss was just talking about that, and you know, so that's why I chose this topic. But it was for a lot of other reasons. I see how everything is tied in together with not only the the event itself, but also everything else that is happening in America right now. It all ties in, man. And the media is playing a big part in how it's received. You know, um, on episode 50, and I'm gonna jump back to what we were just talking about. I'm gonna jump back to that in a second. Episode 50, uh, with my boy Sydney, we were talking about support, and and we did a deep dive on support, and we got a lot of feedback, a lot of good feedback from that conversation. And when talking about support, it's it's not always what everyone thinks. Like he had mentioned before, it can be the smallest acts. It can be the smallest acts of how you support. And that goes back and ties into empathy and being empathetic to someone who's going through something. I was just talking about that. Um, Having a listening ear, a helping hand, sometimes a simple text message can make the difference in the world. It's a consistent presence that we all need. We all need it. No one out here made anything of themselves by themselves. I don't care who you are. You're not doing it by yourself. It's not happening. There's a persistent and consistent presence, an unwavering belief that truly matters when it comes to support. Uh, you need to know how to identify when you're going through something and you're looking for empathy from somebody else. You need to know if that person is the person that's going to be able to give you the empathy. You should know that. You should know that from the different interactions or the closeness of you and that individual. Um, it shouldn't be just actions. It's not about just actions. Oh no, I'm sorry. It is about the actions. It's not all about the words. I was getting that. Yeah, it's not actions, words. Yeah. Who's there consistently for you, right? I um I called my aunt the other day, who was a retired full-bird colonel, and she's always been a top tier individual. And I had to ask her, when it comes to being in a hierarchy, who do you talk to? Because and there's levels in life where when you're at a certain hierarchy and where you sit in that hierarchy, it's hard to be able to talk. Sometimes, not all the time. Keyword sometimes. It's hard to talk from those who look up to you and expect you to always be number one, always have the answers, never have problems, never go through anything. That's the problem with this hierarchy structure. People see celebrities and they see these political figures and they think, oh man, these guys, they live a perfect life, or they don't have any problems, or they don't need to talk to anybody. But when you are dealing with it directly and you're at the top, you're just human. We're all just human, and we're all are going through something. I saw an interview with Will Smith online. He basically he was saying the same. He was like, man, everybody's going through something. Everybody. He just threw his hand. He's like, everybody's going through something, and it's true. Everybody's going through something. There shouldn't be an expectation that because I make this amount of money, I have this, and I still don't have problems. Yes, that person still has problems. And because your problems aren't as big as their problems, or you can't see the problems that they're going through, they're still going through problems. We have to have the empathy to be able to say, you know what? I understand. I understand. You know, and once you gain that understanding, it should be a level of practical help available to you when you need it. Sometimes you outgrow people, and some people will celebrate you. Some people won't. They won't celebrate you no matter what. And it could be family too. And I know, and I'm gonna tie it all back in because we started off with scandal, political scandal, sexual harassment, sexual misconduct, sexual abuse. Then we part of that conversation went to empathy. Now we're on the empathy part, and now we're talking about empathy as it relates to who you can trust, who you can talk to, and my personal uh, dealings with sometimes lacking empathy and being robotic or just being Mr. Spock, basically, just logical. Sometimes, man, I just get caught up, man, and I'll hit that Mr. Spock on you in a minute, and I'm working on that. I am working on it, but this how that all ties into we're talking about difficult conversations, right? It all ties in. And something Sydney said the other day, uh, it's okay to let people go. It's okay to let people go, especially if they're not supportive of you. It's okay. Like there should be no hard feelings. Like you are trying to elevate yourself, your mental and your spiritual elevation, and this person over here is trying to pull you down. They want you to continue to do the old things that they saw in you, the fun things. Y'all are out here doing whatever you were doing. They want you to get back down to that because they haven't elevated themselves from that point, and they see you on the rise, and now they looking at you sideways. Oh, you acting different. You acting brand new. Or you got some new money. No, that person is elevating, and if you will humble yourself. Here's the thing. I had an episode in season one. It was about kill the ego. Kill the ego. How important is it to kill the ego? So if that person sees you elevating, see you on the rise, say, you know what, man? If they can kill their ego, you can tighten up their bootstraps and pull them along. It happens, but not every. But you sit back and you wonder, like, man, that's such and such best friend. He became a billionaire, but what happened, bro? Y'all was thick as thieves back in the day. What happened? Listen, ego happened. Kill the ego. Get the ability to have some empathy, man. Mm, listen to me. Listen, listen, listen. This is a tough conversation, but it's necessary. It's necessary. You know, you can't force people to be supportive. You can't force people to hold on to relationships. Those relationships can drain you, hold you back. It's detrimental to your well being. It's about surrounding yourself with people who lift you up and help you grow. Back to empathy. That intern didn't have anyone at the time when the story first broke. They didn't have the empathy and people to lift them up, to help them grow. They didn't have it. They were attacked, and the media played a huge part in how they were attacked. And we witnessed it, and it was crazy. It was crazy, you know. But those relationships, man, that I was just speaking of, uh, are you nurturing those relationships? You have to ask yourself. This has to be a level of reciprocity, reciprocity, reciprocity. That's yeah, yeah. Sometimes my tongue gets a little crazy. I'm thinking too fast. But you have to be there for them as they're there for you. Basically, that's what it's about. Having open communication, expressing each other's gratitude, making time for those who make time for you, and understanding that if you see a person and you know a person, that person can help you, ask for help. Ask for help, especially now. See, I'm tying it in again. A lot of people are getting laid off from their jobs. A lot of people are losing their livelihoods overnight in a matter of seconds. One day, we're going to come together as a people, as a nation. And I say this, one day, we're going to come together as a people and a nation, and we're going to have a person to lead us that's going to have the ability to lead us all. There's no agenda, but the agendas of all, or the agendas of one, because hopefully by then we are one and we stop looking at each other in such divisive manners. I believe it in my heart that one day that day will come and we will be able to vote on a leader that will lead us all as a people. So, and not for this particular group, not because of this group, not because of these dollar signs, but one day it will happen. I just I just know it will. I I believe it in my heart. I may be a fool, but I do believe that. But ask for help, man. There's strength in asking for help. There's strength in asking for support. It's not a weakness. We have to stop looking at it as a weakness. There's strength in reaching out, especially to people who can help you. And they're already probably looking at you and saying, you know what, man, I know you over there hurting. I don't know why you won't ask, but and it's not necessarily about monetary support. I'm talking about emotional, empathetic support. Just having an understanding ear and being an active listener. to what people are going through. And we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people who right now are losing their jobs. We're talking about hundreds and thousands of people who have been victims of sexual harassment, sexual misconduct, sexual abuse. I'm quite sure a lot of you know someone who's gone through these things. How did you help? How did you help that individual? You know, how did you help that individual? And if your network and the people that's in your network aren't giving you the support you need to expand your network. Sometimes when you're elevating, I hope you're expanding your network. Uh, Sometimes you need more than just close friends and family. You know, you need communities. Go out there and volunteer. Go volunteer to some of these groups that are out there. See what other people are going through. Gain some empathy. That'll help. Professional networks, you know, those are good too. Find people that share your interests and your values, but don't be cultish, right? Don't be cultish when you out there looking for the same interests and values. Don't be cultish. Don't do that. This is for the betterment of mankind, humankind, not self-kind. So yeah, don't be cultish. But man, it was a great show tonight, and I wanted to show you and talk about that political scandal and how it tied in to being rehashed again by that individual who I was talking about on their podcast that they're putting together. And we're going to have to relive those events all over again and see and talk about sexual harassment. It's a difficult conversation. Sexual harassment, sexual abuse, sexual misconduct from high political figures. And then you scaled it down. We talk about our relationships, our personal friends and family, having empathy with each and every last one of them, and understanding and having an active listening ear to see exactly how they feel, what they're going through, you know. Um, and to close out, as I always do, man, I like to give references to some of the topics because I know my smarts are out there going back and checking information. So I like to drop some information. There's scholarly articles out there that are about high impact, high profile scandals. Search different academic research effects and similar events, books, and articles. Um, Hashtag Me Too. That was a movement. That's everywhere. You can do academic research and explore that and the information that and the complexities of that movement. Um, there are organizations like RAIN, the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, and these organizations provide valuable resources on information, sexual harassment, assault, and uh, misconduct. At your workplace, go check those policies, check your organization uh, policies and uh, things of that nature for that and this topic. Tonight, I'm the final boss. It's the Final Boss podcast, and I bid you a good night and farewell. Have a great week.